So there's a lot of talk right now in the online wrestling community about guys wanting to go to AEW. AEW is a company that's been started up by Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and a man who has a lot of money and owns, I believe it's Fulham is the Premier League team he owns over in England, and he owns the Jacksonville Jaguars as well. So he's got money. And word has it that they're trying to decide between a couple of different networks that have offered them a spot, and that the networks that are offering them spots, this is the most prominent wrestling will be on a network that's not WWE since the death of WCW. So that TV deal that Impact has never had, TNA never had. They tried. They had a decent deal with Spike at one point, but it didn't really work. They tried going live, and that just seemed to speed up the demise of the company, hoping to compete with WWE. And they tried too hard to be WWE. It's how it felt. Right down to Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. And Vince Russo. Now, I've got on the board here everybody listed on the WWE's website as being champions or on the roster. So it does not include NXT guys, which is why I had to add people at the end who have recently been called up from NXT. And what I've done is I've put them in different areas of the board for a reason. So let's get to it. Brock Lesnar is your world champion. That's a problem. As the Ultimate Supremo Super Heavyweight, I can't be stopped champion, there's no tension in his matches. I never get a feeling like he's going to lose. And it's all the same thing. It's 50 million belly-to-belly suplexes and then an F5. And I just get bored. And he's only there once every couple of months. And I think it holds back what the roster could be by having a guy who's not a full-timer as champion. Bobby Lashley's Intercontinental Champ. He's big, but he's not a... He's a good wrestler. I don't consider him to be a great wrestler. His personality is such that he needed Lio Rush to come in as his mouthpiece. Lio Rush is a fantastic talker, but he's not very big. So with the little guys that come up, who are actually fantastic wrestlers, and look no farther than the Singh brothers, who come out with Jinder Mahal. They're fantastic wrestlers, and if they're given a chance, not on 205 Live, but a chance to wrestle in front of a WWE crowd, I think people will be surprised that they're actually pretty darn talented. But when a guy's smaller, forget it. Unless your name's Rey Mysterio, just forget it. So yeah, Bobby Lashley is not a guy I would necessarily say, yeah, throw the Intercontinental title on him. But what else are you going to do with him? He should go against Brock Lesnar. That's a natural matchup, so we'll just not do it. Daniel Bryan is champ on SmackDown. He's excellent at everything he does. He can make anything gold. He can make a crowd cheer him or boo him at the drop of a hat, and that's always a good sign that somebody's a fantastic wrestler. R-Truth is U.S. champion, bizarrely. R-Truth's U.S. champion, to me it feels like he's been with the company for a long time, so we're going to give it to him. It's sort of like when Brie Bella won the Divas title, and I was like, well, they're just giving it to Brie because she's leaving. At the time, I believe she was leaving, or she was going on maternity leave or something. And so it felt like they just threw her the title because, well, you've been here for a while, so here's a belt on your way out the door. Now, I'm not saying R-Truth's leaving, just he's been there for a long time, and it feels like they know they owed him one because they've given him so many stupid storylines and stupid gimmicks. And, you know, they've got him with Carmella, and Carmella had a lot of success before going with R-Truth, and it feels like she's kind of stalled out, so maybe giving him the title gives her a little bit of something as well, so that she gets back into the title picture, because while her beating Asuka made absolutely no sense when it happened, when she was champ, burying her doesn't make any sense either. Carmella's a decent wrestler, probably shouldn't just get buried. I have Buddy Murphy in here. He's in red because he's not on the main roster, and he should be. Buddy Murphy is your champion on 205 Live, your Cruiserweight champ. He's fantastic. Whether it is he or Cedric Alexander, or name almost anybody on 205 Live, they're awesome. Which is why Hideo Itami, I'm out. Hideo Itami's leaving WWE. They've granted his release. Itami's a fantastic wrestler. Loved him in NXT. Then he gets hurt, and when he came back, WWE goes, oh, we got nothing. What you gonna do? Yeah, we got nothing. And that's basically what's happened with him. Tommaso Ciampa's your NXT champion. He's fantastic. Johnny Gargano's the North American champion. Also fantastic. And Pete Dunne's your NXT UK champion. An acquired taste, that Pete Dunne, but once you've watched him wrestle a few times, he's an enjoyable wrestler to watch. And I haven't included the NXT guys because they're not technically on the main roster. And then I wouldn't have enough room on one board for everybody, which is part of the problem. So what I've done is I've separated them out. So here I've got your guys who are probably happy with where they're at in the company, and your guys who may have a reason not to be, and I'll get into why. The Miz should be very happy with where he's at. He's in a storyline with Shane McMahon. There's no danger of him getting pushed down the card right now. Is it a goofy storyline with him being tag team champion? Yes. Does it diminish the tag titles? Absolutely. But should the Miz look at this and go, man, I'm so disappointed here? No. They treat the Miz very, very well. AJ Styles is another one treated excellently by WWE. I don't think there's any reason he wouldn't say yes to extending his contract. And I know there's rumors out there of AJ possibly leaving WWE at some point in the next, I think, year or two. But I'm not sure that there'd be a reason for that unless he wants a lighter schedule. Which at this stage, and with the amount of a draw he has and the amount of merchandise he moves, I think WWE would allow him to work like a Legends lighter schedule. But then he wouldn't get a title. So, Big Show's on the board because he's still on the roster on the WWE page. Barely wrestles, doesn't really have to. He'll retire soon, but there's no reason for him to be upset and leave the company. Braun Strowman, has he been written poorly? Yes. Has it killed his push? Absolutely. The monster among men, they might as well just call him among men. Braun Strowman, among men. And you just come out with a bunch of guys and just, I'm Braun Strowman, I'm among men, and that's it. Because the monster thing's kind of dead. Unless they're going to do a Big Show thing where he comes out and beats up a bunch of people. Just for the sake of beating up a bunch of people. Just to remind us, he's really big and he can hurt people. I got so sick of them doing that with Big Show. I'm like, oh my god, he's beating up 5 people again. Oh, why am I watching this crap? Drew McIntyre, I think creative has kind of hit a wall with him. He should not be with Baron Corbin. He should not be... There's a better storyline for Drew where Drew's just a badass. He doesn't have to be a heel. He could be a badass. We have successfully erased memories of him being in the 3-man band. So, just make him a badass. Or put him and Jinder back with Heath Slater and 3-man band is back. Elias, yes, they moved him back to being a bad guy for absolutely no reason other than apparently to feud with Jeff Jarrett. I don't understand it. I really, really don't. Elias was so over. They could have put the belt on Elias. They could have put Elias in that ring at at Royal Rumble. They could have put him in there with Brock. Elias is big enough that you believe that he could hurt Brock Lesnar, at least a little. He could have bashed him with a guitar while the referee's doing a I'm knocked out bit, and the crowd would have gone insane. But no, we'll just turn him back to a bad guy and have him feud with Jeff Jarrett. But still, Elias should be pretty happy with where he's at in the company. Finn Balor, we can talk about how Finn Balor gets caught up in pointless feuds for months with Baron Corbin, and just authority figures in general. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know that Finn will ever get a main event spot ever again. It's been the rumor that Brock Lesnar wanted to work with Finn. I don't get the feeling that Finn is viewed as a main event guy by whoever's calling the shots, whether it's Vince, Triple H, or whoever. Finn doesn't seem to have that draw. But I don't see him going back to being Prince Devitt and going to AEW. Maybe, but I'd be very surprised. Now, the one caveat I'd throw in there is he was part of the Bullet Club when they did this before the WWE said you're not allowed to do that. That's our copyright. To which Kevin Nash probably went, pardon? But anyways, because, yeah, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash did that with the Young Bucks and with the Bullet Club. The Bullet Club is kind of like a throwback to the NWO. It doesn't matter. It's all broken up now. It's going to come back. That I could see drawing Finn Balor into AEW if he was able to put together the Bullet Club again with the potential of Cody Rhodes being in it, the Young Bucks being in it, and instead of doing an NWO theme where they're an invading force, they could do it almost like an authority thing, like what WWE's done for years, but do it in a way that doesn't suck. And Finn Balor would absolutely be a guy who could pull that off. Kane, he's a mayor. He's probably not upset about his position in the company. Kurt Angle, again, he apparently is close to retirement, and he looks like he's close to retirement. I can't see him being upset or saying, I'm going to AEW. Jeff Hardy, Jeff Hardy's one that people might keep an eye on and say, oh, he might go. I can't see it. He seems to be happy in WWE right now, and he seems to have a shot at some mid-level titles and some mid-level push, so I can't see him leaving. Mustafa Ali is the hot new prospect on SmackDown, and it feels like they want to make him the new kind of cruiserweight size guy that's going to be. I can't say Rey Mysterio because he doesn't have a mask. They tried that with Sin Cara, but he potentially has some kind of a main event run in him at some point. I can't see him being a guy that would want to leave. Randy Orton's WWE until he quits. Rey Mysterio. You could see Rey Mysterio going into AEW, especially with the fact that they've got a few of the Mexican talents on their roster already. They're not under exclusive contract, though. They're just part-time. And that's also an appealing thing about going to AEW. You may not need to be exclusive. You may be able to be a part-time wrestler there. And so what that means is you're on TV, you get paid by them, and then your days off, you can go wrestle somewhere else and make some pretty good money. It's been shown that if you play your cards right on the independents, you can make a very similar amount of money that you make at WWE. You're not going to make the main event wage, but you're going to make more than you would if you're at the bottom of the card in WWE. And you have greater control over your character and over how you're presented. Roman Reigns, of course, is out right now battling leukemia. Wish him the best. Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's kind of funny. He's a monster, and then he's not, and then he is, and he's not. And he's creepy, then he isn't. And they don't seem to really know what to do with Samoa Joe either, but I think he's pretty entrenched in it as WWE star. Seth Rollins, they're going to give him the title at WrestleMania. They can't not give him the title. EC3 just got called up. It's weird. I don't think EC3 is going to work on the main roster. I give it maybe a year, and I think he's going to get the Zack Ryder treatment. I don't think it's going to happen, and it's not against him. I love Zack Ryder too. It's not against him. It's just I don't think it's going to work. Lars Sullivan. I've got asterisks next to Lars Sullivan because reports are that he's had anxiety attacks and left Raw. 3 straight weeks when he was supposed to appear on Raw, he no-showed. So there's some talk about him being called up to the main roster. Just the idea of performing in front of that amount of people, he can't do it. I feel for him. I do. That level of stress would be bad, and I'm not going to make light of it at all. If I got nervous before I performed a play in front of a class of high school kids in my school as a grade 12 student, I have no doubt that going out and pretending to fight with people in front of thousands of people, and a lot of them are going to boo you and tell you that you suck, probably a little nerve-wracking if you're, the kind that gets nervous. Now this column is guys who I think could go, or maybe should. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable are the tag champs. I put them here instead of in the tag team line because they shouldn't be the tag team champs. Bobby Roode should legitimately be where R-Truth is. Why is he not the U.S. champion? Why is he not the Intercontinental champion? I do not understand that for a second. His theme music is played in every hockey rink in the world. That glorious theme, I think, is played in other sporting arenas too. And he's got the look, he's got the talent, he's over, the crowd loves him, and he's in a tag team with Chad Gable, and they got the titles because I guess they got thrown together because they didn't know what to do with Chad Gable and Bobby Roode. Just like The Miz and Shane McMahon thrown together tag team, and they wonder why I get mad. Aiden English gets buried after being separated from Rusev. What was the point of Rusev Day? Just to bury the Rusev Day gimmick. It's almost as if they don't create it themselves, they want to bury it, which is too bad because it was an over gimmick. It really worked. Andrade. Andrade's very, very talented. But again, part of what happens here is this. Their roster is completely full. This roster has so many. These guys here, there's a lot of guys in here that could and should be main event level talent. There's very little room for all of them to get main event spots. And then you get into this column where you have guys who maybe we can look at and say, oh, that guy's getting hosed. Who are you pulling out of these columns, this one and this one, to put down here? And don't just start with R-Truth. That's just mean. But yeah, Andrade's a guy who I don't know where he ends up. He and Zelina are fantastic together. I'm not sure where he fits in and if he's just going to be a mid-level guy, which there's nothing wrong with. We forget, as wrestling fans, that back in the 80s, you had your top guys, your mid guys, and your bottom guys. And we didn't ask a lot of questions about it. We didn't get upset about it. It was just part of wrestling. Now we get really worked up because we get to know these guys' stories. We get to know where they came from. We become invested in them because of something we saw in the indies, some video we saw of them with this tremendous performance they had in Japan. And then in WWE, they just lose every week, and we just go nuts over it. So Andrade, I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. Apollo Crews, they've had nothing to do with him since he got called up. Pointless. And this isn't the NXT curse, because if you look at some of the champions, Daniel Bryan was part of the Nexus, which was NXT. Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar never needed NXT, and R-Truth. Those three guys preceded NXT. And this is your NXT champions down here. Buddy Murphy, of course, started out in NXT as well. So the NXT curse for me just isn't a thing. And I'll look at that in another video. That's a whole other thing. This is just about who might be upset in the company right now and who might want to get out. Baron Corbin, they've misused him. And I know he gets a lot of matches. And I know he's had a ton of time on TV. And it hasn't done him a damn bit of good. They've taken what was a legit, decent big man in the ring, and now he wrestles in a dress shirt and dress pants, and he's cut his hair, and he's just a guy. And I wasn't a big fan of him when he was the lone wolf either, and he looked all greasy, but at the same time, they haven't really done anything with him. Like, is Baron going to win a title? No. So what are they doing with him? He's eventually going to end up being out. Bray Wyatt, we've talked for years about Bray Wyatt and how he should have been champion years ago, how he should have been the one to beat Undertaker and he didn't. Like, there's been a lot of talk about Bray and how, he was supposed to be the bringer of fear and all this, but he never won a single feud he was in, so how are you supposed to be afraid of him? So Bray, for a while, I think, has probably been pretty frustrated. And looking at what Cody Rhodes is doing with AEW, I think he'd be very tempted to go over and try that out. Dean Ambrose, there are rumors he's out of his contract. I don't think he is, because WWE reported it. Why would WWE tell us that he was leaving? They never do that. They just don't. So the fact that they're saying, yeah, he's leaving after Mania tells me it's probably not true. I'll believe it when I see it. Should Ambrose leave? Absolutely. He has been... They build him up, and this is an example of where you can get into matches against some pretty good wrestlers and some pretty high-profile matches, and it just doesn't work. And whether it's because of the way the whole storyline's being written or the way your character's being presented, whatever it is, Jon Moxley was absolutely fantastic. When Dean Ambrose was in NXT, and I didn't know anything about him, and Mick Foley was talking about how great he was, I was like, all right, I got to look him up. So I looked up Jon Moxley on YouTube, and I looked up his old promos, and I looked up his old matches, and holy crap, he was fantastic. He was a badass. He was tough. He genuinely seemed like a guy who could kick the crap out of anybody he wanted to at any time. And he's not that now. He's wisecracking, and he's not... It looks like the way he wrestles now compared to the way he wrestled on the indies. In the indies. It's like he doesn't take it seriously or something. Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler's been rumored to be upset with the company for a long time. Then he renews his contracts. He's got a renewed contract right now. Who knows if he'll renew it again? Blah, 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 blah. Would he be better off in another company? Maybe. Would he be better off with any name other than Dolph Ziggler? That name sucks. It's always sucked. The only reason it ever got over is because he's damn good. That's the only reason. Jinder Mahal, of course, Jinder was being pushed to the moon not that long ago as all of a sudden not a jobber and being world champion. And then all of a sudden he's back to losing every match. Including mixed tag matches. Which shouldn't exist. So yeah, Jinder, I don't see him leaving. I don't. But would I understand if he was upset with his role? Yeah. And I'm reminded too of when he was champ, they asked him about guys who were upset with their position in the company. And he said, so he said something to the effect of, "You are where you are in the company because you're able to make things work. The people who are at the top, we know how to make all this work." And then, when he's U.S. champion, he said, "Even though I lost the title, I'm still in the U.S. title mix. I'm still near the top of the card because I'm able to do these things." And they reward you when you're really good at it. And I hear that replaying in my head every time I see him losing all the time right now. I'm thinking, so Jinder, does this mean you're no good? No. It means that they decided you're no good. And that's where wrestling's different, is that they'll just decide you're no good anymore. Nothing you can do about it. You just go out and lose. Which sucks for those guys. Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens, when he was in NXT, he was such a badass. He was terrifying at times. There were times where Kevin Owens was coming, I was like, oh my god, now what's going to happen? And they've made him a complete wuss on Raw and on SmackDown. And he's a whiner, and he's a wuss, and he's a coward, and I don't understand it. They had this great character in NXT, and then they get him on the main roster, and they go, yeah, but not gonna do that. So stupid. Matt Hardy. Broken Woken Matt Hardy. I think he loves WWE. I can't see him leaving, but if at any point WWE said, well, we don't think you can wrestle anymore, we don't really need you here, he would make a fantastic manager or guy to do in-ring segments in AEW. The problem is that the Woken Broken gimmick now, I'm pretty sure all of it's going to end up being WWE. So if he went somewhere else, I don't think he could go back to Broken Matt Hardy unless he still owns all those copyrights, which is what he and Reby have claimed, that they now own the copyrights. It'd be fantastic. Broken Matt Hardy is the greatest thing in the history of anything. Mike Kanellis, who is Mike Bennett in ROH. Mike Bennett in ROH was mid-card, decent, all right, not a bad wrestler. In WWE, I honestly can't remember him winning a match. I can't. The whole storyline that he has his wife's last name is really stupid. It's insanely stupid. Mojo Rawley, who's talking to a mirror, that tells you all you need to know. I don't know if this is a window for them to bring in Gronk. If Gronkowski's going to be in the mirror, is going to be the face looking back at him, or maybe he's going to reincarnate and it's going to be Rob Gronkowski that comes out during a match. Maybe he'll do an Incredible Hulk thing where he's like, you won't like me when I'm angry, and he goes under the ring and Gronkowski comes out, raw, and then Gronkowski wins. Crawls back under the ring, comes out Mojo Rawley. But yeah, Mojo, I don't like anything they've done with Mojo. I didn't like Mojo in NXT either. I remember when they called it Mojo up, I'm like, why'd you call him up? But they call these guys up because they need people that are going to lose. Which brings me to No Way Jose. He loses. Rusev. Rusev's been mismanaged. The funny thing with Rusev for me is I didn't like Rusev at first in WWE. I really didn't. I didn't like him in NXT in the slightest. I thought he sucked. Then he gets called up to the main roster. He debuts at the Rumble. I'm like, oh my god, they called him up to the main roster. Vince is going to love the guy because he's a big man. Oh, this is going to be just crap. And at first it kind of was, but then, with him and with Lana, it worked. And Rusev Day got over, and I love Rusev. I know, like, if you follow Lana on Instagram, I have this thing I do when she does live streams where she's trying to be all pretty and she's trying to get her hair and she's trying to make everything all perfect. Look for Rusev in the background. He's on the chair or he's on the couch. He's either on his phone or he's watching TV eating chips. It is the funniest thing because, honestly, he's just sitting there like he could not be less interested. He's not paying any attention. And it's just, his wife's off in another corner of the room trying to be all pretty with her filters. And he's just sitting in the background, whatever. You could be playing games on his phone, whatever he's doing. Rusev seems like the most chill guy on the planet, which is why when I see him on TV and he's this big bad guy, I'm like, you're a puppy dog. You know who's not on this list? Shinsuke. I missed Shinsuke. If there's wrestlers missing, I'm sorry. Shinsuke's one that definitely I would think going to AEW, that would be sweet, wouldn't it? Shinsuke is so fantastic. And I'm not sure what they're doing with him right now. Because they have him with Rusev. That's why I thought of Shinsuke. They have him with Rusev and they're doing this really pointless angle. I don't get. we like beating each other up, but now that our truth is champ, well, we know he shouldn't be champ. It doesn't make any sense, and it takes away from both characters. They're both supposed to be bad guys, and you got Lana out there berating Shinsuke. I don't get it. Sami Zayn, Sami in between injuries, and just he's filler for the most part. If Sami comes out, I know he's going to lose. I know he's going to look spectacular, but I know he's going to lose. So if Sami Zayn decided to go back under the mask and head out of WWE and do something else, I wouldn't be entirely surprised or necessarily blame him. Whatever Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn decide to do, I would imagine they would both do that. They're best friends in real life. I can't see them wrestling separately. I think they love wrestling together. Shelton Benjamin only came back, I believe, as filler. He loses matches. I can't remember a big match he's won since he came back. I wouldn't be surprised to see him go. Sin Cara's been injured so much. And of course, it's not even the original Sin Cara under the mask. He's gone. It's a different Sin Cara. And I wouldn't be surprised if he wanted out. Titus O'Neil. Titus O'Neil, to me, it looks like what he does is he goes from city to city doing these fundraisers with WWE and these charity events. Seems like a really nice, great guy. They do nothing with him, ever. I'm pretty sure he's never won a belt of any sort. I can't even remember him having a title match. I can't remember him having a high-profile feud. He's been there for years. It's just pointless. Ty Dillinger, they get the 10 thing over. Yeah, you got to kill that. I don't get it. Tyler Breeze I have in here. I don't have Fandango because he's been injured. I don't know if they're going to put Fandango and Breeze back together as Fashion Police. They're fantastic. I have to say, having seen them wrestle live, I've seen the Fashion Police wrestle once. Okay, Tyler Breeze and Fandango. I've seen Tyler Breeze wrestle 3 times. He's fantastic every time. I really think he's underutilized in WWE. He's an excellent wrestler. But again, because he's smaller, he'll lose. Tag teams. The War Raiders are your NXT Tag Team Champions. Of course, they were War Machine in ROH. Loved them in ROH. And I love that they haven't been changed in NXT. I expect them, when they come up to the main roster, to be dressed up like Warlord and Barbarian. Authors of Pain. Well, you've wrecked them now. Akam and Razor? Yeah, Akam is hurt. One of them's hurt. Doesn't matter, because you get their manager pinned, so they lose the titles. Yeah, that whole storyline, none of it made any sense. I didn't get it, and I still don't get it. New Day's fantastic. I know there's always talk about breaking them up. I don't know why you'd break them up. I mean that. I don't know why you'd break them up. The B Team, it's something for Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel to do. They don't really have anything else to do. It's entertaining enough. I can't see them leaving. The Bar, Sheamus and Cesaro. Cesaro's a fantastic wrestler. I would love to see him working in another company and see what he can do, honestly. And Sheamus, yeah, I don't know. They've kind of, I don't take Sheamus seriously as a main eventer anymore. The Revival, there's a lot of talk about them leaving the company. I don't know how real any of that is. Like, they wear FTR on their trunks right now, which means Free the Revival, which means we want to quit. Can't see them putting that on their trunks and going out on TV. And the company not saying, can you not do that? Hawkins and Ryder just got thrown back together. They'll lose a lot of matches. They'll build up to Curtis Hawkins winning a match at some point. He, of course, has had a gimmick where he loses every match for years. It's entertaining, so since it was entertaining, they took him off TV. Sanity. I don't know what they're doing with Sanity. Of course, Eric Young's in that, and he's fantastic. There's a lot of good things in Sanity, so you've got to break them up. Or just not put them on TV and never put them over. Bludgeon Brothers, I have with a question mark, because, of course, Eric Rowan right now is the bodyguard to Daniel Bryan. Once Luke Harper's medically cleared, I expect him to be the other bodyguard for Daniel Bryan and to see some kind of a Wyatt family dynamic there. And then the Bludgeon Brothers could very well come back as a tag team. But at this point, wouldn't it look silly for Eric Rowan to come out as a Bludgeon Brother after? It just seems silly. Heath and Rhino, well, they're a jobber tag team too. They're a tag team of guys that are just gonna lose. They're gonna be entertaining. Heath Slater's one of the most entertaining guys in wrestling. The Usos, who are maybe the best overall tag team in wrestling history, they're up there. They're up there. You look at the longevity, they're definitely up there. Lucha House Party, I change the channel when they're on, but they're there. I've got Good Brothers up there. I know they're just called Gallows and Anderson, but they're the Good Brothers. I don't know why they don't just call them the Good Brothers. They honestly are probably right here. I think they've got a foot out the door. I think they're looking at AEW and saying, boy, we were in Bullet Club before. We could do something special with that company. Ascension, you know the funny thing with Ascension was when they were on NXT, loved their gimmick. Then you send them to the main roster and you completely change their gimmick. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, you guys are tag champs. You guys are dominant. Here's your gimmick. We're going to make you knockoffs of the Road Warriors. I wonder if either Connor or Victor said, wait, what? Can we not do that? We don't want to be knockoffs of the Road Warriors. We've got this thing we do. It's different. And can we just do that? Nah. The NXT UK champs are James Drake and Zach Gibson. I've tried watching NXT UK. I think I'm at wrestling meltdown point. I can't be bothered. There's so many new wrestlers. I don't know who they are that I can't watch it. It just doesn't work for me. And of course, Heavy Machinery just got brought up to the main roster. We'll see what they do with them early on. At least they're in matches. At least they're being shown on TV. So yeah, so that's your roster. These are all of the wrestlers that we're trying to get on TV every week. Those are your main roster guys who are trying to get on TV every week. But if you're looking for why some of these guys aren't being prominently featured, it's not all creative. Look over here. I remember a time when you'd have maybe 4 women. Now you've got Ronda Rousey and Asuka are your champions. Shayna Baszler is your champ on NXT. The amazing Toni Storm is your NXT UK champion. I don't know why she's... I mean, I get why she's in NXT UK, but man, her and Rhea Ripley in the main roster, they could tear it apart. Then you have the rest of the women's roster. Now, I didn't include tag teams as tag teams because, let's be honest, they're just starting the tag division. Alexa Bliss, Alicia Fox, Bayley, Becky Lynch, Billie Kay, Carmella, Charlotte, Flair, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, Lana, Liv Morgan, Mandy Rose, Maria Kanellis, Mickie James, Natalya, Nia Jax, Peyton Royce, Ruby Riott, Sarah Logan, Sasha Banks, Sonya Deville. I don't have Tamina Snuka on here, and I should, but I don't. I don't know why. I don't know how I missed her. Zelina Vega, and just called up Nikki Cross and Lacey Evans. And soon, Kairi Sane's going to be on this list, and I think Io Shirai will be on here as well. Because you have to have segments with the women every week, and it's likely going to be 2 segments on both Raw and SmackDown, you're taking 2 segments away from the men every single week. So because we're in a new era where you need a large women's roster, and these women need to be on TV every week, or every other week, some cases it's once a month, right? But it's the same with these guys. You're now taking segments away from the guys. I have for a long time said WWE should have a women's show all on its own. Find a way to make it work, market it, and sell it to a network. Just the women. And then have the men on their own show. This idea that they have right now that Nia Jax could potentially fight with men, it's a non-starter. I don't think it's going to work. Not because I don't think it would be entertaining. Not because Nia Jax can't actually be a physical threat against men, but because it's never worked. Everybody talks about China. I thought China being Intercontinental Champion was the goofiest thing I'd ever seen. I was just choked. I'm like, really? Eddie Guerrero has to go through this crap. Thankfully, they gave him the title after. So, because of the fact you've got so many women, you have to plug them in with, I think it's almost 100 men if you include each tag team member separately. So you've got at least 80 guys. Now you've got 26 women on this board. And you're going to have moments where during pay-per-views, Toni Storm and Shayna Baszler are going to show up because they want people to get the network and tune into NXT. So you're going to see your NXT champions show up. That's the only reason that the NXT Rumble entrant showed up, is because they want people to watch NXT. Because otherwise there was no reason to have them there. None. All right. So there you go. This is the list of people I think could go to AEW. And the other thing, I'm not even going to get into which women could potentially be looking at AEW and saying, that's good. You know why? AEW has said the women will get paid the same as the men. That will draw some of these women to that new company. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. As always, don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.